What I want to kind of do is, a lot of times I think people wonder how people get to the roles and to the jobs and to the companies they work for, and what some of those stages are. But when did you actually start getting interested in music? Are you a musician? Were you in bands, high school, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I started getting into music in fourth grade, and I was in the school band playing woodwinds. And then I heard the Cars "Let's Go" on the radio one day, and I asked my dad what that noise was. He said it was a synthesizer, and I said, "Can I have one of those?" And he said, "No."
That's
So
awesome.
we kept rolling, and eventually he did get me several synthesizers. So God bless him. And then when I got to high school, I took I got out of playing woodwinds and got into synths, and then into guitars, because I was going to be a rock star. And then you know it was a cool time to get into synths because it was right when digital was coming on in the late
Right.
'80s.
Yep.
So
I like to think the '80s was the best time, the best decade of music ever.
well, maybe next to the '70s,
All right, fine. I'll give you that.
maybe.
Maybe
The '80s
though,
were
just
great for,
maybe.
especially for guys like me that were into
Right.
synths, because that's when I learned how to program on the early stuff, and I learned how to sequence and all that kind of thing. And it's interesting because back when I first got into college, my entire rig was almost all Roland stuff. It was, a Roland D50 was my first real synthesizer.
Okay.
And I still have it. In fact, it still works. It's 40 years old. It's amazing.
So
And
when you went to college, what did you go to college for? Were you trying to get into the industry, or what were you thinking?
well, I was going to be a rock star, so I went into music.
Perfect.
So I went to Ohio State first, the Ohio State, I'm sorry.
That's right.
And I don't want to make anybody mad out
We don't
there.
want any of those hate comments coming in underneath.
Right. And Michigan still sucks, just FYI. And so when I got to Ohio State, I got in the music program, and I was studying classical piano and music education, but I really wanted to be a rock star. So I was also in an original band. And we had a pretty good following around Columbus, and did a couple of record company showcases, got a couple of tunes on the local lick show on the radio, and then time marched on and everybody went on to do other things. So I ended up transferring to Berklee College of Music out in Boston, and was going to do music and production and engineering until I found out how much those guys make. And then I switched to the music business program, and also did, piano, because you have to play if you go to Berklee. You can't just
Right.
show up for business or whatever. And after that, I got
back then, what did music business mean back then as far as a degree and the education portion of it? And how different is it like what they would consider it now?
Well, for that program, it was all about record labels and radio promotion and things
Right.
like that.
Yep.
It wasn't this side of the business at all.
Right.
Nobody ever brought this side up. So it was all about working at a label, or doing radio promotion, those types of things. A lot of just normal business stuff too. One of the best classes I ever took was Peter Alladef, professor. He had the computer applications class. I learned how to use Excel. And shockingly, that was the best skill I could have had going into the music business in the mid '90s, because nobody knew how to do it, and data analytics was just coming in.